The hall reeked of venom and fear. Stains on the floor told the story of past failures, burnt scales, cracked claws, bodies dragged out on stretchers. Everyone knew the Venom trial wasn't about courage. It was about survival. And survival here usually meant screaming. A scaled warrior from the Varn horde uncapped a vial, his claws shaking only slightly. He plunged the needle into his arm. Within seconds, his muscles convulsed, his eyes rolled back, and foam laced his teeth. The spasms rocked his body, but he remained standing, gripping the rail until the venom ebbed. When it passed, he raised his arm high, to a chorus of cheers. Next, a Jari cadet pressed a dripping thorn against her palm. Acid hissed as it ate into her flesh. Her jaw clenched, but she didn't cry out. When the blister hardened into a blackened callus, the hall erupted in applause. Then came a Kelvosh brute who swallowed a vial of dark fluid. He dropped to one knee as smoke curled from his throat, coughing until his chest heaved violently. At last, he staggered upright, trembling but victorious. The crowd roared. The instructor nodded slowly. Endurance is proven. Next. All eyes turned to the human. He walked forward without hesitation, calm as though he were stepping into line at the mess hall. The instructor held out the standard vial. He turned it in his hand, studying the liquid inside, then looked up with a faint smile. "Can I get a stronger dose?" Silence spread like frost. A few cadets chuckled at first, assuming it was a joke. When he didn't laugh, the chuckles died. Eyes widened, one of the Kelvosh muttered. The soft one lost his mind. The instructor frowned, uncertain. The venom was standardized. Every cadet received a tailored quantity, calibrated to their species' baseline, enough to bring most to the edge of collapse without pushing them into medical crisis. The human had been given a moderate dose, equivalent to the highest tolerable for a carbon-based respiratory nervous system. He shouldn't be asking for more. "Cadet Hale," the instructor said cautiously, "this is not a contest of arrogance." "I know," Marcus Hale replied. "I just want to see what it does." Still holding the vial between two fingers, he stepped up to the platform and waited. Reluctantly, the instructor produced a second vial, slightly darker, marked with a red stripe. Emergency use only. It had been administered in the past exactly once, and the recipient had required organ support for 2 weeks. "You understand," the instructor warned, "this exceeds the approved threshold. There will be no intervention until the sequence ends. If you collapse, you remain on the floor." Marcus took the vial and nodded. "Understood." Without hesitation, he uncapped it and downed the contents in one swallow. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the human tilted his head slightly. "Huh." He looked down at his arm, watching veins rise subtly under the skin. He rolled his shoulders once, stretched his back, and blew a quiet breath through his nose. "I feel tingly." That was it? The room didn't breathe. The Varn warrior's jaw sagged slightly. The Jari cadet took a half step forward, eyes narrowing. "You should be convulsing," she hissed. Marcus shrugged, rotating one wrist. "I feel warm, little dizzy, but fine." The Kelvosh, who'd swallowed acid, leaned toward a fellow cadet. "He's faking. He has to be." But there was no faking the biomonitors. Readouts on the side wall showed Marcus's vitals in real time. Heart rate slightly elevated, skin temperature rising, but respiration normal. Pupillary reaction steady, no signs of neural degradation. The venom had entered his bloodstream, confirmed by the visible tracers in his capillaries, but there was no systemic shock, no glandular spike, just a mild fluctuation in baseline adrenaline. The instructor stepped closer, still holding his tablet. "Do you feel anything unusual? Tingling, cramping, numbness?" Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. "My tongue's a little thick, and I think I can feel my heartbeat in my toes." Several cadets turned green. A few winced. One of the Avexian trainees whispered, "That would be fatal in our kind." The instructor zoomed in on the biometrics. The venom had bonded to neural receptors as expected, but the disruption was dissipating faster than predicted. The human's immune system had ramped up white blood cell production before the second minute. Detox enzymes, specifically paraoxinase and cytochrome oxidases, were peaking at levels not seen in any prior data sets. "You're clearing it," the instructor muttered. Marcus blinked. "Sorry?" "You're metabolizing the venom faster than we modeled." Marcus yawned. "Well, I had a big breakfast." The silence broke with nervous, involuntary laughter. A few cadets whispered quietly, others backed away. Marcus stepped off the platform and nodded to the instructor. "Trial complete?" The instructor only stared. As Marcus sat calmly on the bench, sipping water and checking the blister on his wrist, where the injection probe had registered exposure, murmurs spread like wildfire. "What do you mean he cleared it?" He drank venom that nearly killed Avrexari. "Did he even sweat?" Marcus looked over at a group of cadets who were still staring. "Back home," he said with a casual shrug. "Kids get worse from gas station nachos." One cadet actually dropped their cup. Another hissed, "If this doesn't break him, what will?" The trial concluded without further challenge. No one else stepped forward. The standard procedure was abandoned for the day. Later, the instructor locked himself in the analysis chamber and pulled up Hale's medical file. He matched the venom breakdown with known human biochemistry. Cross-referenced immune response, liver filtration rates, enzyme action. It didn't make sense. The venom should have triggered paralysis. At minimum, respiratory strain. Instead, the human's vitals had improved over the next 20 minutes. Blood oxygen increased. Resting pulse dropped. Even his body temperature returned to baseline within 15 minutes faster than any cadet who had taken the milder dose. The instructor recorded a note in the internal report. "Humans do not resist venom, they adapt. Not through immunity, through acceleration." The venom wasn't just tolerated. It was processed, filed, neutralized, and learned from. No one slept easily that night. The venom hall was scrubbed clean by morning, but the smell lingered acrid, metallic, unmistakably toxic. Technicians replaced the filtration foam twice. It made no difference. What changed overnight wasn't the air. It was the atmosphere. Where there had once been confidence and bravado among the alien cadets who strutted proudly into the venom trial, as if their suffering was a badge, now there was quiet calculation. And side glances, always toward the human. Marcus Hale ate his breakfast alone. He didn't seem to mind. One leg slung over the bench, plate of starch cakes in front of him, tapping out something on his datapad with one hand while sipping black coffee with the other. Cadets entered the mess in small clumps, as usual, but their tables shifted. Conversations dropped to whispers. Some faked a trip to the hydration dispensers just to walk past him, trying to spot signs of damage. There were none. No redness in the eyes, no skin blemishes, no tremor. Even his gait was steady, fluid, rested. "I heard he metabolized it in 20 minutes. "No, 15. Instructor's log said 15. That venom disabled a full-grown Tervari for 3 days. Marcus looked up once, met the gaze of a scaled cadet seated across the room, and nodded politely. The cadet flinched, dropped their tray, and muttered something about needing extra supplements. The fear hadn't come from his survival, it had come from the ease of it. Later that morning, cadets gathered in the central courtyard for recovery drills. They ran routines, tested reactions under simulated distress, and practiced assisted movement under neurochemical fatigue. Standard follow-up for anyone who had participated in the Venom trial. Except Marcus wasn't listed. He still showed up, stretched, jogged 2 laps, didn't even sweat. When approached by a medic, he simply replied, "Feel fine, no after effects." The medic double-checked his vitals anyway. Everything checked out, no residual inflammation, no abnormal enzyme drift. His blood pressure was slightly below average for his height, which only worried the medic more. "We're running another test," she said, trying not to show how unnerved she was. "Just to be sure." Marcus nodded. "Do I get a sticker?" That afternoon, the instructors convened in the private analysis chamber again. The lead Venom researcher, a pale Vasari named Dr. Chiven, pulled up the slow-motion telemetry from the trial. She traced Marcus's internal temperature on a hollow curve. It rose by 1/2 degree, then dropped. She traced his neurochemical spikes: adrenaline, norepinephrine, cortisol, all within normal range. Even the liver enzymes were consistent. It's not a resistance trait, Chiven muttered. There was uptake. It bound to receptors. Then why no reaction? Instructor Tolvac asked. It paralyzed a Zealoth warrior last term. Because his body didn't fight it, she said, turning away from the monitor. It rerouted. She brought up human autonomic maps. See here, their systems decentralized, redundant. If one set of nerves is compromised, secondary pathways compensate. And their immune response doesn't panic, it escalates in steps. She turned toward the others, brow furrowed. This wasn't immunity. This was adaptation on the fly. There was a long pause. Then, Tolvac asked the question quietly. If that was the enhanced dose, what happens if we give him something stronger? No one answered. 2 days later, Marcus received a summons to the lab. He walked in wearing his off-duty clothes, sleeves rolled up, and gave a lazy wave to the 3 scientists waiting for him. I'm not due for more tests until next week, right? Dr. Chiven gestured to the chair in the middle of the room. We'd like to try a secondary exposure. For research. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Is this where I find out I've been slowly poisoned over time, and it's all part of a long study? No, Chiven said. You cleared it. But we'd like to observe your reaction to a different compound. More complex. She held up the vial. It shimmered violet under the lights. This one is not designed to kill, but it does suppress respiration and disrupt speech temporarily. Most species experience semi-conscious hallucinations and loss of equilibrium. Marcus stared at it, then at the chair. Let me guess, this one tastes like grape cough syrup? It has no taste, Chiven said. You'll be monitored the entire time. Marcus sat down, pulled the restraint strap over his chest without being asked, and held out his arm. You're really going to let me keep doing this? He asked. Chiven hesitated. You want to stop? No, he said. I just want to see if I can beat my last recovery time. Chiven sighed. Try to stay conscious. Marcus smiled. I'll do my best. The venom entered his bloodstream in under 4 seconds. Monitors flashed, biometrics updated in real time. Respiratory rate slowed. Pupils dilated. Core temperature dipped 0.3 degrees. He closed his eyes briefly. Then opened them. Okay, that's new. What do you feel? Chiven asked, stepping forward. Colors are brighter, Marcus murmured. There's a ringing in my left ear. My tongue feels like it's been coated in lint. Any muscle stiffness? Just in the neck, like after sleeping wrong. The team watched as his vitals began to stabilize. Again. By minute 6, his speech returned to normal. By minute 8, his oxygen saturation was above baseline. By minute 10, he unbuckled the restraint himself and stood up. I'm going to need another shirt. That one's going to be soaked. Dr. Chiven said nothing for several seconds. Then she turned to her assistant. Run his post-exposure panel. I want endocrine markers, transcriptomic adaptation, and a protein comparison to pre-dose blood. Marcus waved as he exited. Do I get another medal, or at least a cookie? Back in the common room, cadets looked up as he returned. Eyes followed him again, but this time, they didn't look away when he glanced back. 1. A blue-scaled cadet named Horkel stepped forward hesitantly. Human, he said. Marcus, do your people regularly train against poisons? Some, Marcus said. Mostly in food. Some of it is terrible. But you take it willingly? Marcus smiled. We call it spicy. The cadet paused. I need to reconsider your species. Marcus patted his shoulder on the way past. Everyone does. 3 days later, Marcus Hale's blood was more valuable than uranium. Inside the Academy's bioanalysis wing, technicians worked in hushed coordination. No alarms, no chaos. Just rows of screens and glowing strands of human DNA slowly uncoiling and reforming again and again. Every enzyme, every folded protein, every anomalous data point was highlighted, extracted, and triple confirmed. Dr. Chiven stood at the center, hunched over a neural model of Marcus's autonomic system. A cold cup of Kelroot tea sat untouched beside her. She hadn't slept, neither had her assistant. Cycle it again, she muttered. But doctor, the assistant said, voice cracking. This is the 14th model. He metabolized a Venom variant in under 8 minutes, and it shouldn't even have a metabolic pathway in humans. Chivan rubbed her temples. Then make a 15th. The screens shimmered as new simulations began. At the core of each was one undeniable conclusion. Marcus's system wasn't rejecting Venom. It wasn't even ignoring it. It was learning. Every compound introduced, every invasive molecule, was broken down and logged, like a living database. His liver didn't just filter, it recorded. Antibodies weren't just reacting, they were repurposing. His blood chemistry had shifted, ever so slightly, after each trial faster, cleaner, sharper. No other species at the Academy demonstrated this degree of plasticity. Most either suffered, resisted, or died. The humans? They improved. Meanwhile, Marcus remained unaware of the storm brewing behind lab doors. He was more concerned about the new cafeteria menu, which had switched to neutral digestives for the week due to a stomach flu outbreak among the Norleans. What does neutral even taste like? He muttered, poking his tray. The answer, as it turned out, was chalky sadness. Across the room, cadets clustered together, watching him. Not just from curiosity now, but analysis. A few even carried data tablets, swiping through charts with subtle glances in his direction. Sarian, the Varn cadet who had started the Venom trial, approached with an almost ceremonial stiffness. "Human Marcus," he said. Marcus looked up, mouth full of neutral mush. Sarian. "I have a question." Marcus gestured. "Shoot." Sarian hesitated. "Do you feel fear, at all?" Marcus blinked. "You mean, in general?" "In the trial, in the lab, when the Venom entered your system, were you afraid?" Marcus chewed, swallowed, then leaned back. "The first time? Yeah. My heart was racing. I didn't know how my body would react, but I'd read the notes, saw the dosage, and figured I could ride it out." "You figured?" Marcus shrugged. "We do that a lot. Take calculated risks. Hope our bodies keep up. But what if you were wrong? Then I'd have learned something. Or not, depending." Sarian stared at him like he was a logical paradox. "Your species is wildly inefficient, yet somehow you excel at surviving." "That's us," Marcus said, raising his water glass. "Stubborn meat sacks with fast livers." Sarian didn't laugh. He just nodded slowly, then walked away, whispering something to the cadet next to him. Marcus couldn't make it out. He didn't need to. The whispers had changed tone again. No longer just disbelief. Now, uncertainty. Dr. Chivan compiled her final report that evening. It read: Subject: Human, Marcus Hale. Exposure: Class 2 VI, Venoms, neurotoxic, corrosive, hallucinogenic. Response: Elevated enzyme activity, P450 system, accelerated antibody synthesis, multi-system coordination without central override. Notable effects: improved metabolic rates post-exposure, increased autonomic control under chemical stress. Conclusion: human biology does not resist venom. It collaborates with it. The body integrates foreign compounds faster than any known species. The response is not passive immunity. It is active, systemic adaptation. Danger level: escalating. Potential unknown. She saved the report under restricted access and added a note. Request further review of human ingestion thresholds. If venom strengthens them, what else might? The following day, a new trial was proposed unofficially. It came from the Kelvosh, who had historically prided themselves on pain endurance. They approached Marcus at the track field, where he was jogging in rhythmic laps, earbuds in, sweat beating down his temples but breath steady. They waited until he finished, and offered a challenge. "No injections," the Kelvosh said. "Just ingestion. 1 drop of sevrial toxin. Traditionally, this is a ritual test for our warriors before mating." Marcus wiped his forehead with a towel. "And this won't, melt my stomach lining?" "It shouldn't," the Kelvosh replied. "Probably." "Great," Marcus said. "Let's do it." They met after hours. A private corner of the training hall. A single metal bowl, no spectators. Just the Kelvosh, Marcus, and a supervising medic, already preparing anti-venom, just in case. The drop was administered into a cup of water. It glowed faintly, red and gold, swirling like living fire. Marcus didn't hesitate. He drank. The reaction wasn't immediate. But then again, it wasn't subtle either. His pupils dilated. He swayed once, then sat down abruptly. "Okay," he said through slightly gritted teeth. "That's got a kick." The medic moved forward. "Hold on," Marcus said. "Let's see where it goes." His hands shook. A cold sweat broke across his forehead. His jaw tightened. And then, minute by minute, it passed. His body processed it. Tremors faded. His vision cleared. His vitals recorded silently by the medic's scanner stabilized. He stood. The Kelvosh stared. "You should be unconscious." "I don't recommend it," Marcus said, rubbing his eyes. "Tastes like battery acid and regret." Word of the side trial spread quickly. Not by design. Just cadets talking. What's left that can affect him? He's not resisting. He's adapting. They don't even fear death. They taste it and catalog it. And beneath it all, the quiet dread settled in again. Marcus didn't fight venom. He met it, learned it, filed it away, and every exposure made him harder to kill. The last venom trial was never meant to happen. Not officially, not even quietly. It was an anomaly, triggered by one simple fact. There were no remaining compounds in the Academy's toxicology vault that Marcus Hale hadn't already survived. So they made one. The Academy's venom specialists, led by Dr. Chiven and 2 research chemists from the Varn Bioscience Corps, synthesized a new compound, Compound N7. It was built from fragments of venom previously deemed incompatible acidic elements, from Jari blood plasma, paralytic neurotoxins from Varn jungle vipers, and a slow-burn alkaloid compound used in controlled euthanasia for failing nervous systems. No species had been exposed to this mix, not even in simulations. Its lethality was not fully known. There were no baselines, only theoretical models. And they offered it to Marcus Hale. He said yes without blinking. The final trial took place not in the Venom Hall, but in the Academy's sealed med chamber, where full organ support systems could be deployed within 30 seconds. 8 instructors stood behind blast glass. 2 medics waited inside, already in suits. A molecular dispersal system stood by in case aerosolized venom leaked. Marcus sat calmly on the gurney, tapping his foot while waiting for the sample to be drawn. "You know," he said to Chiven, "on Earth we usually build up to things. Like a hot sauce challenge. 1 chip, then 2. You're skipping straight to ghost pepper." "You're under no obligation to proceed," Chiven said carefully. "But I am curious," Marcus replied, rolling up his sleeve. "It's not just the venom, right? You want to see what the limit island." Chiven didn't answer. She didn't need to. The injection was administered at exactly 0800. The moment it entered his bloodstream, every monitor lit up. Heart rate spiked. Blood pressure surged. Muscles contracted. His jaw locked briefly, and a single line of sweat ran from his hairline down his cheek. He closed his eyes. "Okay," he said through gritted teeth. "Yeah, that one's different." His breathing grew ragged. Oxygen saturation dipped. His hands clenched. For 3 solid minutes, he didn't speak. Then, gradually, the signs changed. Temperature dropped. Blood oxygen rebounded. Pupils normalized. At minute 7, he opened his eyes and said, very clearly, "You guys are twisted." One of the medics grinned in relief. Chiven blinked at the vitals. "You're stabilizing." "Sure am," Marcus said. "That one hurt." He rubbed his chest, slowly sat up. "I'm guessing you were trying to find the ceiling." And, Marcus exhaled. "You got close." The internal report on Compound N7 was sealed by week's end. Its full summary, restricted to Level 2 staff and above, stated, "Subject tolerated Compound N7 beyond all modeled parameters. Neural recovery was initiated internally before organ support. No external intervention required, subject remained conscious throughout. Notably, recovery time shortened compared to previous trials." Suggests systemic memory of venom profiles. Hypothesis. Human physiology, specifically in subject Marcus Hale, demonstrates scalable tolerance. Adaptation is not fixed, it is compounding. Chiven added one last line. Venom does not degrade human resilience, it cultivates it. Word leaked anyway. Not through official channels, but through mess hall whispers, classmate notes, and one particularly bold cadet who swore he saw the vitals feed through a security panel. The whispers didn't call Marcus strong. Not anymore. They used other words. Untouchable. Unbreakable. Experimental. And to Marcus's quiet irritation, one nickname stuck. Venom born. It appeared on his locker one morning, scratched into the metal. Not mocking. Just factual. A title the others now accepted. He was no longer the soft-skinned outsider who lacked chitin or claws. He was the one who drank death and asked for seconds. By the end of the term, the Venom trial was rewritten. The ceremonial phrasing changed. No longer a test of resistance, it was rebranded as a trial of response. Species were now measured not just by their pain thresholds, but by their ability to recover, to stabilize, to adapt. The human template, once absent from the archive, now had its own dedicated entry. Homo sapiens, metabolic resilience class, adaptive exponential, venom response, variable, behavioral risk profile, high, recovery potential, anomalous. It concluded with a warning. Do not assume failure in visible response. Delayed onset may signify metabolization. Observe with caution. On the final day of the academy year, Marcus walked into the same hall where the Venom trials had begun. The stains on the floor had been scrubbed. The smell was gone, but the memory was not. Sarian met him at the door, carrying a small black case. I brought something, the Varn cadet said, for you. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Sarian opened the case. Inside was a medal, not official, but hand-carved, a curling fang, polished obsidian, mounted on a leather strap. Venom mark, Sarian said. Only 3 have ever been given in Varn history. You're the 4th. Marcus took it, quiet. Why me? Because the venom never made you bow. Marcus held the medal in his palm for a long time. I did feel it, he said softly. I felt every second of it. We know, Sarian replied. That's why it matters. They stood together in silence. 2 warriors from opposite worlds, joined not by strength, but by what they chose to endure. As Marcus left, another cadet watched him go, then whispered to a classmate. He asked for a stronger dose, and now he wears it like armor. And the name spread Venom born, not as fear, but as fact.